As we start to become more familiar with altering our sense of the passage of time in this way, it soon becomes obvious that our state of mind directly influences our subjective experience. And as a result, the more open our mind is, the less the sense of the time drag there is. A totally open mind that is capable of being in tune with the universal mind, which is possible when the mind is at complete rest and total silence, has a sense of being in a moment that is timeless and eternal without beginning or end. So the phenomenon of time is relative to your state of mind. What state of mind do you bring to the causes you support? So that's just a way to get us started this evening. I'm going to kind of go into a totally open mode where each person who shares this evening can either go off of the conditioning state, the natural state, and the higher self state of the theme that we did of accordance, or you can just share whatever you're going through. Either way I think it'll be nice to blend the two. But I'm also seeing that a lot of what's going on in the world right now is reflected in a lot of what I just shared about patience and impatience and timelessness. In other words, going beyond into the universal mind, beyond any sense of there being kind of a duration of time between one event and another. In the universal mind, everything's instantaneous. So the sense of time it's like all time is there in the sense of eternity, but at the same time, everything can happen in an instant, in a moment, the minute you think it. And that's something we can get into toward the end of the meeting. We can actually experience that in this space. But right now, I just like to start the meeting by offering my conditioning into the space, and then anybody who wishes to go after me can share their conditioning. And once everybody who shared their conditioning and revealed who they are in that way, then we'll go through the process where we step into how to transform that through the heart. Transformation of the heart is how I like to call that, and then enter into our natural state and share gifts out of our centered essence. And then once we go through that, then we'll actually go into the higher self, and we can actually do accelerated collective evolution, because that actually comes out of the higher self, the accelerated collective evolution part of this meeting. So we have 3 stages: heart of transformation, which we will go into with each of the shadows, or conditioning, the egoic conditioning that we're going to share. And then we have the centering essence, where we share who we are naturally, and that is by coming from who we are. That is our essence from a centered space. And then we will go into the higher self, where we actually can experience what it means and feels like, and to be a participant in accelerating our consciousness to evolve intentionally. So my shadow this week has been this sense of a kind of just under the radar of, I mean, just like at the edge of unbearable, but still bearable, feeling like riding this kind of terrain that feels like the bottom is slowly disappearing out from under it, is the kind of the way I've been experiencing this week. Because I've been totally tuned into what's happening in the world with the virus and all the things, and always kind of staying updated in terms of numbers of what's going on here and there and everything else. Bye, Dasarathi. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us as you could. And so for me, it's like it's just a kind of very, I guess you could say it's a kind of uncertainty. There's an uncertainty behind, just beneath the surface of everything. Like, who knows what the next day is going to bring, and the kind of sense, like in the heart of like taking a breath and going, oh my God. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I think I got the point across. I think everybody can feel that. That's what we're looking for when we share our egoic conditioning, is that there's an impact in the space, and everybody can kind of feel what you're sharing. So what other who else would like to share what kind of what buttons are being pushed? What's causing your ego to go ahead, Melissa.
Thanks, Dharmendra, and hi, everybody. Um, I wanted to follow what you just said, Dharmendra, because the shadow that's been appearing for me is we're all in this cocoon state and we're facing an unknown, a great unknown. And what I'm starting to see through various emails that are coming where people are trying to get business up and running online is there's a lot of potential to do things differently and to offer things in a new way that bring us together and also um, share, I'll just call it the abundance. But my concern is that people are still doing business as usual. So I'm hearing the same language. I'm seeing that they're going to be selecting the same people that they always have, you know. They're using all this terminology that is from where we have come from, but again, it's not all inclusive. It's very specific to sets or groups of people. And so my concern is that even though we're cocooning and we're going within, there's a resistance to the change and to being in the unknown and just being and not knowing and sort of frantically trying to save ourselves, but not doing it in a way that's new. And that is frustrating me. And
What I enjoyed about what you just said is you kind of brought out the essence of impatience too, which is kind of getting all sped up and all bothered and hot about nothing, because we're all being asked. The energy on the planet right now is asking, is pushing all of us to evolve, and it's kind of obvious what directions we need to go in. Veganism and other and climate healing and all these things, just obvious. But what's happening in that resistance that you're sharing is this freneticism, this frenetic kind of panic that is, and that's the ultimate state of impatience, because it's like for people who aren't aware that that's what they're doing, they're going to make this state into a great big long drawn out hell. And hell is just something you don't want going on forever and ever and ever and ever, because people don't realize when they start to panic and they start to get into that state, they're increasing everything. They're shortening everything into really tight spaces and cramming it all together, 1,000 little experiences, not meaningful experiences, unpleasant experiences, one after another after another after another. That to me is hell. That's what hell is. And that's the essence of the darkness and the unconsciousness, and the fear that motivates somebody when they're in impatience. That's what they're literally generating and creating. So thank you for sharing that. That kind of brought out not only what you were experiencing, but kind of tied it in nicely to the theme, which we're not trying to do, but if it happens, it's nice. So who else would like to share what their ego is shouting out?
Hey, is anybody else sharing right now? Okay. Hey, everybody. So, hey, I wanted to say that actually what just happened, this is such a good topic, because what just happened this past week and shutting down, lockdown, is one of my friends said, well, you need to really think about your future and all this stuff. I'm like, well, I'm a vegan activist, so that's my future. But it just started to make me think that, yeah, I do need to think about that, because I'm a pet sitter and all my overnight pet sitting is canceled, not all my dog walking, but most of it. So I'm just trying to figure out what I can do for this duration period of time. Am I supposed to get another job, or should I wait this out? And if I'm waiting this out, how long do we wait? So it's been unsettling. But yeah, that's my statement. But it's probably because I've never had, in my past, in my growing up in my childhood, I didn't really have good role models to tell me that I needed to prepare for my future or anything like that. So yeah, I haven't thought about anything like that. What's my next move or what's going to happen in the future, because I know we're going to have a vegan world, but just figure out what my place in that vegan world will be.
Wow, that was that was powerful. riveted right through me. And talk about the fine line between patience and impatience. I mean, there's no choice in what was just shared there, because it's like, whoa, I can't just hang. I just can't hang in the cut because everything really is disappearing out from under my feet very quickly. So I've got to figure out a way to artfully find the best way to, utilize my time, because yeah, I mean, and I'm not even going to finish the sentences because it just feels like it's so, that kind of energy. There's just wow. So that's thank you, Sarah. That's definitely, yes, please, Melissa.
Hey, can I just give something to Sarah that's coming to me right now? Would that be okay, Dharmendra? Okay, Sarah, I just wanted to pass this idea on to you. Um, I don't know if it's because I'm an artist and artists are always reinventing themselves and you're used to this roller coaster of having and then not having, and looking for creative ways to fulfill ourselves and bring in an income. But what's coming to me with the dog services, I'm wondering if you couldn't do an online doggy service where you create for yourself work that way, of engaging with dog owners on how to handle their pets in fun and creative ways.
Beautiful. And I think, so that's kind of planting a seed for the next step to when we're going to go into the natural talents when we get to the next phase. So nice. And anything goes in this meeting. It all works, but also that we keep everything in right relationship. So that's very cool. Thank you, Melissa. Who would like to share their egoic experience next?
Hi, I'm Lucy. For those of you who don't know me, nice to meet everyone. Hi, Dharmendra. Nice to see you again. Yeah, we talked last week about impatience briefly as well. I remember touching on that a little bit in my shadow, just talking about the impatience that I was feeling. And I've definitely come through that this week. Last week was very much an impatient week for me. I was riding the adrenaline that I was feeling, and I had this sense of I have to keep going. But in the end, and I made mistakes by doing that. But I think it was meant to happen. It was meant to be that way so that I could learn the lessons from those mistakes. But now what I'm seeing is, there's the sense of urgency that we've all felt for so long with animal rights is now sort of seems to be reflected in everything, in like every facet, everywhere I look. There is a sense of impatience, urgency, stress. Just the last couple of days, yesterday, day before, I started feeling a really beautiful sense of like serene calmness and relaxation. And I don't know if that's necessarily reflected in what I'm seeing online a little bit in some people, but I'm definitely, moving through that. And I guess the urgency that I'm seeing in the global crisis is the confusion around what is actually going on, what is happening. Is it a virus? Yes, there is a virus, but is that the main reason? Are there other, like, what are the other underlying things that could be going on at the same time? All these theories that have been floating around for a while, and I'm kind of looking into them a little bit more, but from a place of observation and awareness, and just trying to absorb, or doing my best to absorb people's information, and not get triggered, not have my own pre-existing ideas placed on it all, but just to really get to the heart of everything and try and understand as well as I can. But I definitely am seeing just that level of, yeah, confusion. There's just so much confusion. And I don't personally feel confused, but I guess my main shadow from the past week has been not so much impatience with myself, but impatience with others. In the sense of forgetting where I've come from, forgetting that you know, I've done a lot of the spiritual work, and it's not necessarily a spiritual thing. It's like just an awareness of different levels of consciousness, I guess. Not to say that I'm like, you know, heightened consciousness or anything. It's just I have worked so hard for so many years on my own level of consciousness and awareness, and I'm glad that I've done that. And I guess that is something that is, you know, gradually kind of being brought out in this global shift, this whole accelerated evolution. Yeah, I'm rambling a bit now, so I just wanted to say that yeah, time, it's just been a very interesting phenomenon to learn to understand a bit more deeply over the last few months, and especially over the last few weeks. Yeah, so that's me for now.
Thanks, Lucy. You're kind of on the cutting edge and almost slipping into what the theme of next week will be, which is get a hold of yourself, dissolution. So in this week with accordance, everybody's kind of according with the fact that, okay, this virus is here, it exists, we all got to deal with it. That's also a part of what accordance is just being in accord with, whether you agree with it or not, doesn't matter. Being in accord with whatever is happening in the space. And then of course your response can either be impatience, patience, or you don't even care and you're in a timeless space and you're okay with whatever. But the sequence, the next week we're going to go, it's going to be dissolution. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to start dissolving and dispersing. Dispersion is another way of saying it. But then the week after that, it's going to be interesting because the week after that, in other words, 2 weeks from now, the theme is going to be collective intelligence. Aha. Which traditionally was called the army, but the army is about collective intelligence. Because there's also armies of higher beings that have a different purpose than killing. It's not, they do something different. So you can use the army even in a positive way. But the essence of it is collective intelligence. So we're going to have an interesting next couple of weeks. But it felt to me, Lucy, like out of a little bit of confusion just on the edge, but a lot of like, you're starting to move through dispersion into kind of this dissolution, because you're starting to see that. I think you're just, what I'm getting from you is you're starting to pick that up kind of in the way you sense things, that things are going to start dissolving real quick. And I think that's it's going to probably come out really strong in the next week or so, because ever since I started these codes, they seem to be right going on with what seems to be happening in the big picture, which is kind of interesting. Maybe the timing was right. I don't know. Anyway, who would like to jump in with their whatever their egoic? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a I found that I work at a library, and I've been like, can't go in, and I find that now I'm not going into the library. I still get paid, but I find that I'm a lot more calmer and don't have to deal with people at the library, and find that I'm able to relax and think things out and come to conclusion. I still have to do work at home, but that's okay. And so I know this is a bad situation, but I've actually found advantages to it. And that's pretty much all I need to say.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Sometimes we find not so bad things in places that we didn't expect them to be. So that's always interesting. But it also, the other aspect of when we're working with the subconscious material of the ego and things like that, there can also be a sense of maybe finding a new relationship to that, which I think what I'm picking up from you, Rob, is you're getting in touch with your energy, your power in a new way that maybe wasn't there before, that allows you to do things differently. So that's also valid at this level of discussion when we're working with this, with the subconscious material of egoic conditioning, is that maybe the typical way you were experiencing that has now been released, and you're finding a different way to spend your, what you have to do for activities in the day in a different environment and all that. So thank you. Who would like to, who else would like to share? Jamin, was it you who was raising your hand a bit ago? Yeah?
Yeah. And so love this conversation, love listening to everyone, and love you, Dharmendra, and all that you're creating here. It's so amazing to see the evolution of this. But anyway, so prior to the coronavirus and everyone being grounded, I had this idea of how my life and my work and everything is progressing forward from here. And 2 days ago, when we were on the Solution Club, and it feels like a lifetime ago now, because I've started that meeting frustrated. You'll probably recall, I'm like, frustrated. Why is this taking so long? And then when I finally realized, wait a second, everything has changed. We're in a completely new reality right now. And similar to, was it Rob who was sharing about the library, and yes, there are some, benefits to this. The whole landscape changing for me in my world and all of our worlds is that now everyone's connecting via video conference. And so that which I had been waiting for and so frustrated for, why is this taking so long? It's here. And now all that we need to do is connect it. And that's a much easier job than creating it. And so for me, it's just like having finally embraced the new reality. It's like, it's just, everything is just radically different. And for the work that I came here to do, it's way better. So anyway, just wanted to share that. Hope that's.
Thank you, Jamin. Thank you, Jamin. Yeah, it's insanely, how should I call it? The synchronicity is insane that 6 months ago, we started doing these online Zoom meetings, and it's grown quite a bit since then for all of us and every one of us doing these things. And now all of a sudden it's the whole world doing it. Isn't that's the coincidence there is just too, I mean, it's just like, what? That's exactly what we were wanting to have happen. I mean, how lucky are we that we could be that in tune, maybe not, I mean, obviously not consciously, but somehow to Mother Nature, who always moves us from places that we have to grow into, that we're still working to get to. Mother Nature's already there going, okay, I know where you need to go here. Let's do this. And that's kind of how I see it. It's not because from the egoic perspective, the ego wants to say, oh yeah, we were doing that and we probably had a hand in making that happen. No, we were lucky enough to be in tune enough with nature to start doing that just naturally. And because nature was going great, Mother Nature was going to do something, and it was going to make it so everybody's going to start doing it. So that's just, I just feel like we're extremely fortunate that we had begun that already, because now it seems like what we put all this energy into for all this time, now it's like, wow, there's the network out there. We just have to connect it up, like you said. I mean, geez, that's one whole huge, gigantic, probably the biggest phase of all. Nature just, twisted her pinkies and twiddled her thumbs a little bit, and boom, here we are. It's like it's everywhere now. So that's, yeah. I hear you, and I get that there was I felt your engines grinding there, Jamin. That was letting me know there was a ton of impatience you had to eat through all of that period of time, because you just so much wanted to get this crank, and because you knew we had to get to that place where that's here now, and so now that, like you say, now it's just connecting it up. So that's cool.
Exactly, and thank you so much I'll be off camera, but listening in for a few minutes, and then I got to go call my mom. And love seeing you all. Love you, Dharmendra. Thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining as much as you could, as you did let us know you had to leave. So, but thank you for participating.
And I just want to say one thing before Damon leaves, is that one of the big lessons, I think, is when you have visions is how to hold a vision and wait for the natural cycles and events to take place that are not our control. Just like the coronavirus was something beyond our control, but was an essential ingredient to pausing humanity so we could go into the cocoon stage where you have to hold and ground your vision and wait for the right moment. Because if you deliver it too soon, you have to start all over again. You deliver it too late, you have to start all over again. It has to be the right and perfect moment.
Yeah, and that's the gift of patience, because everything has a natural and fixed rhythm to it, and there's always a period of waiting for things to evolve and grow naturally. So yes, absolutely. That's all connected to this theme of the week. Anybody else would like to share their struggles? Thanks, Jamin. See you soon.
Yeah, I've really connected with what everyone has been saying, and I've kind of been struggling with this idea of accordance and allowing things to just happen as they're happening. But it's been strange because it's almost like I feel predominantly like very blessed and grateful for the situation that I'm in. Because I moved out of Seattle right before all this started, and I kind of did that on a whim, and I was feeling scared and uncertain and felt like, and there was part of my mind that was trying to determine what's the right decision here, and I ultimately went off of a gut decision, which is always a little bit nerve-wracking for me. And then when all the coronavirus stuff started to unfold, then I started thinking, oh, maybe it was a good thing that I left my job and left my apartment just in time to come home to stay with family. And but what I've been struggling with probably the last week is my problem-seeking part of my mind, trying to look for I don't know, look for enemies, look for things to be scared of, look for reasons why I'm out of alignment with things. But I would say that's not the majority of my mind. I feel like I've grown a lot where I'm kind of just watching this part of my mind that's scrambling to find someone who's someone who's controlling or tormenting, or to find out where the problem is coming from, rather than kind of accepting that I don't know. Like, I don't know how this is going to unfold. I didn't know that this was going to unfold, and but I do know that there's several very clear and obvious things to be grateful for, which is like my home, my food, my health, and this fact that people are coming together on Zoom. I remember when all that started to happen, it was a lot of disbelief. It was just like, I was just like, oh, I guess this is how that was going to happen. It wasn't so much of this masculine, like, kind of force of energy, but more of this, like Melissa was saying, kind of just open, like the space just needed to be open for this to kind of come through and be helpful for people. And I'm glad it's come about like that, because I feel like it's teaching all of us lots of lessons. And I feel like I'm definitely learning a lot about the way the universe responds to like consciousness and just this evolution, how the feminine motherly role in all of this. It's nice to kind of see that play out and kind of have my I don't know, my faith, I guess, just feels stronger, which is nice. Yeah, thank you.
Nice, Evan. Thank you. That I just liked the little journey I went on listening to you. Something both you and your brother have a natural tendency is to take people on journeys when they speak. Amira asked, Amira, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk tonight or even be a part of the meeting because I kind of had a challenging day talking about patience. And Sarah can relate with me on this one. We were involved in an online conference with the city or with California Horse Racing Committee, trying to get Santa Anita Racetrack to shut down because not only is it terrible what they do to the animals, but they're endangering everybody by allowing people to come into the place. Anyways, spent 3.5 hours on there, and then it broke and the meeting broke up, and then it came back. And Sarah, you were so awesome. What you said to the world that was listening. So basically, this is like activism from a whole new place that I'm experiencing, and trying to be patient doing it all only from home and online. The tough thing, again, what you said earlier, Sarah, that we can't look at these people eye to eye, get a feel for where they're at. It was horrendous, to say the least. These people hanging up on activists, illegal moves on their part in a lot of ways. And it was extremely frustrating. So I'm just basically kind of sitting here going, and Evan, I love what you said, because I too am kind of, I think for the first time in my life, and I've always known this, one day at a time is coming more and more into my life. And I'm trying to really stay with that way of thinking, because right now my mind is like, what's happening to all the animals out there? Who's helping them? What are we doing? Are we doing enough? How can we be more proactive when we're all on lockdown? It's gut wrenching and heartbreaking, to say the least. And so trying to be patient with that and just figure out how I can be creative and what I need to do and also for myself, because since this started happening, I've been on, full speed ahead mode, trying to make sure that my family, my home, my granddaughter, my daughter, everybody's well and taken care of, and everybody has what they need, and we're prepared. And I don't even know what I'm really preparing for. I'm just trying to do my best with it all so that we're all safe and we can be home. It's so really, it's about the patience, and it's about, I'm really pissed at the world right now because this virus, and now we're hearing out of China, there's a swine flu coming our way. Also bird flu, whatever it is. So my frustration is, what is it going to take for people to wake up and stop doing what they're doing? Because the selfishness of people's choices is killing a lot of people. And we just discovered today, just a couple hours ago, that now the United States is #1 leading in this disease. And the numbers are expected to go crazy. So I'm like, what are we going to do? What to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be better at what I'm already doing. I don't know, it's frustrating. It's like, I posted a meme last night saying, I can't really remember what I said, but it was, how can we as activists beat this virus? How can we spread the word of veganism faster than this virus is growing? Because this virus is growing like crazy. How can we make activism grow as faster, if not faster? Because it's the only way we're gonna, survive this, is we got to turn this around. And all of us activists know what it's gonna take. But how do we get others to hear it? How do we get others to really listen and take it in? So anyways, that's my shadow, if you will. Thank you all.
Thanks, Amira. That was definitely some very critical and to the point and essential and pretty central to what's a good example of what's going on and what we're up against. Christine, you raised your hand. Go ahead. And welcome to this meeting.
Thank you very much. I'm actually glad that I'm following behind Amira here because I'm kind of, my shadow is very similar. I'm an animal rights activist. I've been doing that for quite a long time. And when the climate issues, when I made that connection, I felt this desperation to get people educated and to make change, and almost to the point where I was overextending myself in the past probably year doing activism and just exhausted and trying to juggle organizing different groups and all of that. And then this virus just came out of nowhere and felt like it literally shut everything down in a day. And when I see the connection between animal exploitation and the virus, and I feel this intense impatience with the world and the human species, almost to the point where I don't even know if I am a human because how can I see this so clearly and no one else sees it? And I really see just the evil that is animal exploitation and all that it is doing, speciesism, and all that it is doing to our planet and our species, the human species, and our leaders aren't recognizing it. They're almost playing a part in it, and I just feel so very impatient. It's like this is imminent. We need to change today, almost like I'm going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be a vegan world. You know, everything's going to be peaceful and everybody's going to change. But when I get out there in the world, I see that that's not actually happening. Everybody is still doing the same things that they were doing before. So I just, yeah, I guess that's where my impatience is with the human species. So thank you for listening.
And thank you for jumping in and sharing it. I know it always takes and you too, Rob, the new people here, it always takes a little bit of courage to jump into and start exposing your shadows with a group of strangers. But I'm really grateful to everybody who participates and has been participating with me, you know, over several meetings, because it's you guys in combination with me that create a space where I think people can come in and just intuitively sense that this is an incredibly safe space and it's okay to do this kind of work, because it is very delicate work, even if it seems like what we go through when we're sharing our shadow stuff is anything but delicate. But the rest of us holding this space is making it so that that person can. So I'm just grateful to everybody for continuing to do this work and be part of it, because it's creating a space for people to come in and I think really make a quantum leap. It really just takes it right at the beginning to jump into this space and say, this is what's going on with me, and bare your soul like that. And on the and on that note of bearing the soul, I just wanted to step into the next phase of the meeting and step into what our natural talents are. So as I was sharing where I started from this evening with my shadow feeling like the ground is literally disappearing from under me. And I remember it's interesting when I first decided to become a disciple of an Indian master and actually really get serious about going on the path of awakening. This was back in 1978 when I was 20 years old. And so I wrote to India and I asked, can I be a part of this movement? And of course, when it came back, I got this name, and the name was Dharmendra, the name I have now. Uh, oh, I'll stop for a moment before we go there. I shouldn't have assumed that my mother might just want to watch. Do you want to just watch tonight, Nartano, or would you like to share a chat? Do you have any shadow you want to share, or do you just want to watch? You're just going to watch? Nod your head because I can't hear you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. That's my mom, everybody. Her name is Nartano. It means creativity. She's an artist too, by the way. A really good one. She does Zen paintings at this point in her life, or Zen charcoals, really trippy looking. But just for a talent, there's a talent for you. Kind of inspire me into where I'm going. But anyway, so when I got the letter back that had the name on this piece of paper with the signature of this enlightened Indian meditation master, it said, "You are in the abyss. There is no ground to stand on. You're not trying for any ground. You're just to enjoy the abysmal beauty." So if I could kind of absorb that right now, it's kind of it was very mystical to me back then, and it actually never really gets any better. It's remained mystical now. The only difference is now I'm comfortable with and okay with being in that abysmalness. So my natural talent now, and it's something that is more than a natural talent. I think it was there to begin with. It grew out of a certain kind of trust in life in general, that no matter what situation I find myself in, somehow it's going to work out. No matter what happens, it's going to work out and it's going to be fine. So over many years of meditation and realizing the unpredictability of life anyway, that there really is never any guarantee, even for your next breath, your next thought, your next feeling, your next smell, anything, your next meal, there's no guarantee of any of that kind of stuff. But if you take that and make it kind of like the milieu of your aura and realize that at any moment anything's possible, and to try and hold on to anything or make anything a solid, dependable, fixed, continuous, something that has duration that you can run and hold on to when things get tough, is delusional. I mean, it doesn't exist. I mean, there is no such thing. I mean, we are just actually a cloud of molecules, and we forget that sometimes. We're not a solid form, we're a cloud of molecules that's held together in a brilliant design created by beings, Lord knows, amazing, obviously, that could create evolution and all these things that we're experiencing, but we're just a cloud of molecules anyway. So really, I think the gift for me that I mean, to be honest, it is a bit challenging to hang in there with this gift, to really be honest about it, is just realizing that we're all in an abyss, but I'll just speak for myself. I'm in an abyss, and it's like what Jamin was saying before we started the meeting earlier about being in free fall. But for me, I guess I would experience it more like just floating in open space. Like like in those movies with Tom Hanks where he's out in space, but the cord breaks and you're just floating in space. See, it's almost like that. You're not a free fall, but just just a free float, I guess you could say. Although to be honest, it feels anything like floating. It feels more like not just the ground, but the air that we breathe and the types of circumstances we're used to being in, and the types of ways we would think about how to strategize our life and our livelihood and everything. It's all of it is just dissolving away. It's all just being taken from our grasp. And as I talk about it, it's like I'm becoming more, as I talk about it, it's like my way of becoming more familiarizing myself with the fact that the sooner I get a hold of there's the total insecurity of this moment, the better off I'm going to be. And not that it's going to be comfortable, but I'm just going to at least know where I stand. And then at least from that place, I can respond accordingly, as opposed to trying to hold on to one more illusion that, well, maybe this, or I mean, all of us in our minds are going, what about, maybe I can hold on, and what about, and it's all gonna dissolve soon, sooner or later. And and as I get into that, it's almost, it's this place where I feel in my heart this transformation between this kind of irrepressible fear that's kind of turning into this irrepressible inner laughter, which is really unexpected. I wouldn't expect it to do that. But as I also share and teach in this space, and others do too, is because I'm not the only teacher in this space, is that when you get into when we get into this phase of where we embrace something with our heart, and I take that shadow up into my heart, because I'm sometimes it surprises me, because even after a zillion times of doing this, it's always new, and you never know what. And the most important thing I just want to say to everybody is just be really sincere, because that's where the surprises come. That's where things come out of you wouldn't expect. You can't plan this. I mean, obviously, the shadow is a result of broken plans and all kinds of things we tried to figure out and make happen and blah, blah, blah. That's a lot of what shadow work comes from. But when you're in the heart, it's the only place the heart can be is in the present moment. It can only be here and now. The heart only knows one moment. It's this moment. And from this moment, it only knows how to go one place, and that's out into everything, into eternity, so that that moment becomes all moments. So that's the key to expand your heart into your siddha, into your higher self, is you have to find that present moment. From there, that can go into eternity. Only from the present moment can you find eternity. So that's just something I'm getting a little head into the last phase, because everybody needs to share their, and I would hope, would like to share their natural talent, their gift, their genius, because I'm done at this point.
Dharmendra, that was awesome to hear. Always inspires me. So I want to thank you for that. Well, I'd like to sing a little ditty from a group that you probably all know called the Beatles. It goes like this. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, spread these broken wings and learn to fly. All this time, you have always waited for this moment to arrive. And that song for me really summarizes exactly where I'm at. It's like my wings were broken. I've just been waiting my whole life for this moment to arrive. And what I find really interesting is this no return feeling, where you can't go backwards. You have to keep moving forwards into the unknown. I actually like that state. I like the unknown territory. It's like Alice in Wonderland falling down that hole, the rabbit hole, and she didn't know where her feet were going to land. For me, there's a lot of excitement in that idea, even if it's really scary. And what I find is that this whole I don't want to call it an experience, but I can't think of another word. This whole supposed reality right now is pushing me into my higher self space. It's pushing me to do what I came here to do and be who I am in essence. And just looking at those gene keys, thank you, Dharmendra. I was going to call you Siddhartha. Isn't that interesting? And contemplating the gene keys really has been like a trigger for me into coming into this sense of my higher purpose, higher self. And so my work is no longer work. My work is now prayer. And where that has placed me is into having faith that this is all right on time, on purpose. It doesn't look good necessarily. It doesn't feel good. But I have faith that it's happening with purpose for all of us, for rebalancing. I don't know if we're going to stay here. You know, does moving into the fifth dimension mean leaving here? Does it mean staying here and being transformed? I don't know, but I have faith. So whatever comes, I'm okay with it. The other thing I'm starting to see, and I just wanted to feed off something, I think it was Amira who was talking about the animals. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard things such as, because restaurants have shut, because cruise ships no longer exist, etc., there's less demand for meat. And I think that's really interesting, that our business as usual has been disrupted, so we can't go about living our lives as usual anymore. I suspect that's going to get more and more intense, that kind of break away from the old way, and it's going to come through loss. And as much as loss is hurtful and it creates suffering, it's kind of like humanity's karmic debt, you know, like it's on purpose. Yeah, so I guess I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Can I just comment?
Yes, go ahead.
I love what you said, Melissa. The thing is, though, that there may not be cruises, but people are still getting their meat somewhere. So that's not really changing. So.
Yeah, and thank you, Amira. I'm not saying it's all going away, of course. I just want to tell a very quick story you just reminded me, which I wanted to mention in my section here, if that's okay, Dharmendra, about transformation. Is that we can keep planting seeds, and we keep planting seeds for change and transformation for individuals and for communities. And we never know when that seed is going to take root and blossom. And I had a confrontation 6 months ago with a young man. He's 14 or 13. He shot and killed a raccoon. And I didn't realize he'd done it. I thought it was his mom or his dad. And I went and confronted them and talked with them about not killing the wildlife and how to scare raccoons off so you're not killing them. And the whole family stopped talking with me. They have children. The children stopped talking with me. They wouldn't mock me. And I just set a boundary. I was like, that's it. I'm not going to talk with these people anymore. You know, they just aren't going to get it at this point. 2 days ago, this is 6 months ago, I had that confrontation. 2 days ago, the children were out on the street. They saw me. They started mocking me. And I started shouting at them, like, about the coronavirus, about what's happening on the planet, about how if we don't change our ways, blah, blah, blah. Well, this young boy pushed his bike down the road and, you know, keeping good social distance, we had this incredible conversation where he said to me, you know, this has really been troubling me, and I really want to hear your perspective. And we had this heart-to-heart conversation where I could see his conscience had got to him. And he was open for newness, for change. And I'm seeing this happening more and more around me. And it really brings me hope that because of the loss and the suffering and what's going on, people are being pushed to change. And I'll end there. But I just wanted to share that experience because that was really powerful to have had that. I was not expecting it. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, you'll go next. I just want to say one quick thing before you go, though, in relation to what Melissa was saying. I think it's something that we're going to realize more and more as we step into our future, is that the two paths you can go by, like the song, one leads to you starting to get behind your natural talents, and no matter how scary it is, just to start to step more and more into that space, because that's the space that's going to be supported into the future. And the more we hold on to the old ways, that if we start to look around us and see the people that are like the institutions that represent the old ways, and just how decrepit and falling apart in terms of their behavior, and if you can apply that to their behavior and their mannerisms and the way they think and how they maintain power, all of it, it's all just kind of crumbling and dissolving. And so that's just a good point to make, is that we have two paths to go on, and the more we can start to do these kind of things, and because this is just something that, you know, I want to do more and more of this as my creative gift. And there's a lot more than just what I do with this particular. I mean, there's more layers to it, I guess you could say. But the more we can do that, the more it's going to grow and be supported, even if it's going to take a while. And that's all I'll say for now, because Sarah raised her hand and would like to share it.
Well, I really enjoy this tonight. I think it's great. I really enjoy what Amira said, what Melissa said, what Rob said, what everyone said. Dharmendra, you as well. I'm a very free spirit. I did want to address one thing, but I'm not sure. I don't want it to be crosstalk, so I hope that it's okay I say this. What Amira said, yeah, people are still eating meat. All 4 racetracks are open. All live slaughterhouses are still open. People want their meat. They want their dairy. I have turned a couple people vegan recently, but I wanted to, so that's great. And I'm glad, Melissa, that you had the talk with the young boy. But I did talk to a couple people yesterday, and I was like, you know, this is from the live animal markets and all of these, you know, CDC says, even the CDC says 3 of 4 out of 4 you know, 3 or 4 illnesses come from animals. But I said, you know, this all came from the live market, you know, the animals transfer it. And they were like, no, that's not true. And I was like, yeah, that's true. It's just like, I cannot deal, and no offense to any men on here, but I can't deal with this male dominated society, because after we had 6.5 hours on that race horsing meeting that went on, it's all old men and just one white woman. She's new to the Mitchell, the lady Mitchell. She's new. She was the only one that stood up and said, oh, well, you know, I guess maybe we should shut down the horse racing, but of course they didn't want to. But I feel like, what can happen for people to get it? I know I believe that this is the beginning of the vegan world, of course, but what is going to happen? Because I know this is the beginning of the vegan world, but what is going to happen? I know we can't be like, we're not really like, we don't have a crystal ball, but something is happening. Like Melissa said, this is all for a purpose, for a reason. We know that's Vegan World 2026, but I know people are still in denial, but even somebody asked, that's what I wanted to say. President Trump yesterday gave his little update. Stump said, somebody asked Stump, this was great that this reporter actually said, hey, you know, this was started in the wild animal markets. Are you going to try to put a ban on wild animal markets? And I thought, oh my God, this is it. He's going to say yes. He's going to stop these markets. He's so against, you know, this China virus, right? China comes from China, he said. So if he's so against this and wants to get rid of this, then, but he actually Stump said, no, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to shut that down. No, I don't think so. But he had that moment where I kept sending him like all this energy and all this telepathic energy to try to get him to say, yeah, we should shut those down. I just wanted that to happen so bad, but I've been so unsettled because we got the question out, but now it's like, at least we got it out there. But I'm just unsettled for that, because like we could have just solved this yesterday really quickly. Of course, in my mind, that's what I was thinking.
Sarah, I just want to share with you that because sometimes, you know, we go through certain phases in this meeting, but and sometimes you come in and you say things in a certain way, but I want you to know that whatever you say or whatever you do in this meeting is fine, that even though there is a kind of order to it, it's not like the old way. It's not rigid. If you just come from who you are, that to me is the most important thing that anybody can do in this meeting. And I always feel like you're coming from your own authority, from you being the authority of yourself and authorizing yourself to be yourself in the space. So I always support whatever you do, Sarah, because I met you already. So I get you. And you know, it's beautiful that whatever you say, you know, you don't have to preface it with crosstalk or anything. I don't care what you do. Do whatever you want. You can stand on your head and you know, and blow popcorn out your ears, and I'd still be fine with it. So no worries. I mean, what you do speaks for itself anyway. So just, just carry on. And that's all I want to say with you, because you can do whatever you want in the meetings. I know you know what we're doing, and I know you know what's going on. I see you, Melissa, in just a sec. But I just invite you to just be yourself, because that really is the most important thing in these meetings. Yes, Melissa?
So I really want to thank both Amira and Sarah for your undying love and commitment to the animals on this earth. And just keep being you, and just keep doing what you're doing, because it will have huge results that you're not seeing yet, but I believe that we will see in the very near future. I just wanted to say that.
Thanks for that, Melissa. And I know I can speak on behalf of Sarah as well. That's the thing about activism. Once you get the bug, you can't turn that thing off. It's, you live it, breathe it, you don't sleep, you think about it all night. That's it. That's just the way it goes. Thank you for saying that.
Yes, totally. And welcome, Nancy. I see you just arrived. And by the way, anytime, go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't know you could hear me. Hi.
Yeah, because you're not muted, so I can hear you. I'll mute you in a sec if you don't know how. Unless you want to share, you might want to just watch what we're doing for a little bit. We've already been through the first phase of the meeting, where everybody shares their struggles, their shadow, their ego, their whatever it is that buttons are being pushed from what's happened, because these are weekly meetings, so whatever's happened in the last week basically. But now we're in the gift phase, our natural talent. We're kind of absorbing that struggle into our heart, loving ourselves, and transforming it into, well, what's behind that? What even though that's all going on, what are we here to do? What's our gift? What are we about? What are we sharing in the world? And how do we express that? Even if we can't say it like that, how do we be it? And that's the space we're in right now, opening up. So and after a few people do it, if you feel to jump in, you're welcome to jump in at any time. So whoever wants to go next, unless yeah.
If nobody else wants to go, I'll go. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Melissa, for sharing what you said as well. I really appreciated the little bit from the Beatles. It just made me feel like, reminded me that I feel like I was born, most of my life I felt like I was born in the wrong decade. I feel like I should have been alive in the 60s and been part of that whole shift back then. But I'm really the last few days this week really remembering that no, this is exactly where I need to be. This is where I personally need to be in this very moment. And being part of the shift and being sorry, there's some distractions. I'm trying not to be distracted by things going on. But yeah, I'm being reminded that this is exactly where we need to be in the whole grand scheme of everything. And I really just am in this free fall, this abyss, this all those analogies, this phase. And I think it is reflected in a lot of people that I'm seeing and talking to, is that there's just so much confusion that we're just like, well, what else can we do? And I genuinely just feel like everything has a time and a purpose, and everything is unfolding exactly as it should. There are cycles, there are spirals. Like, this concept of time is just so fascinating to me, because it's like the spiraling, or the cycles, or the elements of the spiral just are speeding up. So it's like getting tighter and tighter. And yeah, and we're now in this phase where this is the shift. Everything is changing. And even though we might not be able to see in this very immediate moment exactly what is happening and what is positive shifts that are changing, I feel like we will start to see them as and when those aspects of life and humanity are ready to change. I have had to go through things in my life to be able to learn those lessons, and us as humans have had to as well. And yeah, I'm just coming to this very peaceful place now where all I can do is just hang in it, just be in the moment, and just be grateful, and just be excited, because this is such a massive opportunity, but it's also just the natural unfolding of everything. I feel like the universe is just we're all just being shaken up. We like all the crap is being, you know, brought to the surface, all the human stuff and all the awfulness, all the darkness. It's a lot of it's coming up to the top, and we're just kind of wiping it clean, and then it's going to keep happening. We just wipe it clean, and we just take off all those layers as they come up, and we get cleaner and cleaner and more cleansed as a race and as a unified mind. I feel like it's just all part of the process, and I'm just very grateful to be in it, to be able to hang in that, to be in that space and be in a space like this with all of you, because as you said, Dharmendra, it's amazing that the whole process is of what you've put together, having already started this, and now it's being reflected, and we're seeing it globally as well as within our own lives. That's definitely what I've seen looking back over the past year or so of my life. It's just been well, my whole life I feel like has been leading up to this point of this shift, and my gifts are now I'm able to share them, and I can see where they do fit into the activist world. And I've been working on this through Paradise Rising, through my organization, of bringing spirituality and art and really creating this a platform where others can share their gifts, to be able to uplift activists, but also in a creative, healing, activist way. So just to explain, Dharmendra knows about my what I do, but I don't think anybody else here does. But oh, maybe Sarah. Yeah, the organization that I started and have been building is based on building resilience for activists and helping activists build their own resilience. So being very self-reliant and self-sufficient, and just bringing art and spirituality into creative activist modalities. And yeah, I feel like because everything is online now, we have to be online. That's really where I'm starting, where we're focusing our attention now. And I feel very grateful that I'm able to do that. And I'm hoping that it is, I know intuitively, as well as from experience and from the evidence, that the arts are so healing, and we're able to make such a difference with creative means of activism. So I'm really looking forward to being able to share more in that way. But at the same time, as you said, Amira, like you get the activist bug, and you feel this urge, this draw to be on the streets, or you feel like you can't not do that stuff. So it's very frustrating not being able to also go out and do the street activism, and seeing that frustration reflected in other people in the community. But yeah, I guess that's my gift, that I wanted to share, my what is it, my talent, or the natural, the space of I do feel very at peace, because I just see everything as unfolding as naturally as it should. The universe is just making the shift is happening, and I just don't feel any fear anymore. I was very fearful for the first few weeks, or the last few weeks, on and off, because I didn't feel like I was working fast enough or getting things moving enough, or but now it's just, there's nothing else that I can really do but trust, and know that we're all doing our part in every way that we can. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Thanks, Lucy. One thing that arose in my consciousness when you were speaking that was piqued was that this kind of work that we do, and it's probably always existed throughout time, but not like this. Is that we're like a caravan, but we're an online caravan, so it's a whole new kind of caravan. And what these kind of caravans, specifically these kind of caravans that are about accelerated collective evolution, because this isn't really the first caravan of its kind. Well, yes, it is online anyway, but there have been other accelerated collective evolution, gatherings for different purposes at different uh, time spaces throughout humanity's, process. Um, but the thing is the point of this is to carry sacred information through a chaotic period. This is chaos training. We are in the midst of a cyclone. We're in the midst of a chaotic scenario. And these kind of situations like this are specifically for, and they speak about this in many of the awakened lineages like Sufism and Zen. They've all done this kind of thing. A lot of times it's just one person who carries the whole message. It's much nicer if it could be in a collective like this, because each one of us is becoming like a library that's becoming downloaded. I mean, we think we're in here just sharing our shadows and our gifts and our siddhis, but every time we open up a siddha space or a gift space or a shadow space, existence is downloading that information into our genes, because it cannot not do that. Because the minute you call it out, existence isn't, unlike a lot of people in power in this world, existence is not dishonest. So if you call something with your totality and you be it in the space, it's permanently, you become a permanent holder of that. So every time we open a space like this, everything we go through is ours, is ours. You cannot lose what you open in essence. But I see it now in a very down-to-earth genetic way. It literally is downloaded into our genes and becomes like a program, like a program on a computer, but it's a living program. And it can respond whenever the situation calls it forth. It's not something you go about trying to put on, look what I can do. I can pull my sit out here. But if the situation comes up and calls for it, and you've done this kind of work, it will respond. You'll be surprised, like I always am, and I say it a lot in the meetings. Wow, I didn't see that coming. And I'm not joking, because it's like when the situation calls it out, it comes out, and everybody, and everybody in the space can reflect it back, and just that mix alone creates a whole nother mix, if you know what I mean. The minute you start to blend all the energies together, as people know, like when you blend colors together to get new colors for a painting. I mean, it's not so different than that. I mean, it is different than that, because we're talking about human consciousnesses, and the deeper we go, the more sophisticated and the more interwoven and the more interimplicative we all become to each other in a really trippy way. So we're this online caravan. So that's what's unique about this scenario. It's never been done before in this scenario of we're an online caravan that's doing chaos training. We're not just doing training, we're actually going through the chaos. That's how we're training. So we can get to the other side with whatever we've developed out of this incredible connectedness that we're doing. We're using that energy, that intensity of energy out there to light up our consciousnesses. That to me seems like a really cool thing to do, better than what most people are doing with it. So we get to take all that raw energy and turn it into, food for intelligence that we can reflect back out in the world in useful ways. And that's kind of an inner teaching of all the essence of all the lineages of awakening. That's what's always happened. Just like Moses in the desert for 40 years, he was a caravan, and there was knowledge that they were carrying, but living knowledge. So let's call it wisdom, because knowledge can be fixed. Wisdom cannot. Wisdom is always alive and responsive to the moment, and it's dependent on the universal life force for its function, for its aliveness. So I just wanted to share that in the moment, and that's something that I was piqued and by what you were saying, Lucy, but also by what all the, Amira and Melissa and Sarah and everybody was saying. So all of it. Yes, Melissa.
Yeah, I really love what you said, Lucy and Dharmendra. And I just want to add to that. Many of us have been doing this work for a long time, and people couldn't hear it or see it. And many of us were persistent, but people still couldn't hear us or see us or the work we were doing. Now they are starting to see. Now they're starting to get it. And I find that really fascinating. You know, that sort of the world catching up to the vision, or those of us who've been walking this road for a long time, you know. And so when I see you or Evan or Nolan, you know, younger generations already downloaded with the beauty and the heartfulness, it gives me really great joy. Because for us older warriors of the rainbow, you know, we're getting a little tired. We need some backup. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you, Damendra, as well. It's yeah, as I said, I for so long I've felt like I was born in the wrong kind of generation, but I think it is like I'm just so happy to be able to kind of absorb the wisdom from the people who have been doing this for so long, and experience the teachings from people like yourselves. And yeah, it is really fascinating. And from my experience of being frustrated for just the last couple of years with animal rights and veganism, but also spirituality, and trying to express, or doing my best to express what I feel in a way that people will understand. And, you know, within the activist movement, it's been hard to find the people who do get it. And now I feel like I've finally found, you know, the people who get it through Climate Healers, through Vegan World 2026. I mean, it's, you know, I think for a lot of the movement, it's like 2026. Are you serious? How do you, like, are you delusional? Do you think it's going to be a vegan world that soon? Absolutely not. Like, I know we can do it, and we can see through this speeding up of time and everything that's going on at the moment. Absolutely, things have to change that quickly, and they definitely can, and they will. And by all of us doing this collective evolution, yeah, this is I just am very grateful that I can be part of it, and to be able to learn from all of you. And just briefly as well, what you mentioned, Damendra, about the caravan, it's really funny that that's actually what we've been calling the physical. I'm looking for a bus because I've been house sitting like Sarah as well. I've been looking after animals while people go away, and that's been my main accommodation and my main source of income. Can't do that anymore. So now I need to find my own space. I need to actually have a home for myself. So at the moment I'm staying with friends, but I'm looking at getting a bus and turning it into a Paradise Rising caravan. I mean, that's how we've been thinking of it, is as this physical space that we can take to festivals and run shows and use the performing arts, creative arts, to spread the message of anti-speciesism. You know, we'll probably frame it as consistent anti-oppression, because that's what we're about as well. But to really bring in the anti-speciesist message as much as we can to those spaces. And yeah, we've been calling it a caravan. And so it's really interesting that this is like kind of an online version of that in a way, or like I feel like I'm being trained through this online space of this caravan, so I can kind of take it into a physical space when we can actually travel again.
Another synchronicity. What do you know? Amira, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to comment quickly. I love what you were saying, Melissa, about that. You know, it's very true. A lot of us, I got turned on to my spiritual path through, actually, technically from Dharmendra's mother. And she got it through Dharmendra in the early 80s. And yeah, a lot of us older folk here have been doing this for a very long time. And it took a lot of years of meditation, a lot of groups, a lot of work, a lot of this or that. And I do really appreciate seeing so many young people like you, Lucy, and Evan, for sure, and Nolan, you know, you guys are getting it. Something's happening where you're getting it very quick, it seems. I think, again, that's, you know, the grand scheme of it all, because we have to get this going. And it is very refreshing to see such wisdom in such young people. because I don't know how old you are, Lucy. I know, Evan, you're in your early 20s, correct? Yeah, and I tell you, I was nowhere close to doing what you guys are doing when I was that age. So right on for that. Thank you. And that's all I had to say.
Yeah, it does every now and again you gotta kind of, well, I was going to say the older guys, but it's everybody. It's like I want to pat the younger people on the back for going, you guys are getting it like at lightning speed, and I want to pat the older guys on the back for having the sheer endurance to hang around this long through all of this, and keep the wisdom alive, and keep the wisdom alive. And then I think a lot of it was just we spent, because everything's always evolving. So you guys, Lucy and Evan, who are a little younger, you're made to catch it quicker anyway. You're going to be moving at a faster speed than we were at your age, because evolution right now is really, it may not have always been that way, but it is now. Evolution is definitely picking up steam. So I think a lot of us did have to, literally, be our own personal caravans, and carry that sacred knowledge until we could all come together like this and start to disperse it between ourselves, and have younger people come in who are going to take it into the future, after, as long as there's a planet we're all still on, we'll be taking it into the future. And also adding their own new evolutions and stuff to it. So I think that's a lot of beautiful conversation there. Really enjoying. Yes, Evan, I guess you're next.
I just wanted to share like a little anecdote from like an experience Nolan and I had, where the first time that I ever really felt this veil sort of drop on the separation of me and the world. I was with Nolan, and we were in conversation, and I was expressing like anxieties I was having, just like that were just coming up, and I was just like speaking them out. And then all of a sudden it was like something dawned on me, and I was like, oh my God. And I started crying, and I just started realizing it was just like a flurry of like mental connections and all these things. But one of the things Nolan and I then started almost joking about was how we're like, it was just me and him, just two scrawny dudes who have spent like an ungodly amount of hours on the internet, have stitched together some like super ancient type of truth that like a long time ago it was like this dramatic thing, like you would be like an initiate or something, or you'd be discovering this on your own, and then you would like dedicate years of your life to writing this in a book and then passing it down. And it was like, and then now it's like, if you just get born in the year 2020, it's like you just go on the internet and you can look up like awakening now, mystical death experience, and you can find a bunch of people who talk about it. You can find people to talk to about it. And yeah, it's just like it's just like, I don't know, it made me so like emotional just thinking about how like you were saying, Dharmendra, the endurance of people. Because like I feel like in the recent past, like in the last several thousand years, I can't imagine what it would have been like to have lived a long life in a world where you just knew you were far off, where you just knew it's like, oh man, like it's a long time away. Just seeing the pace of things, and now it's almost like I'm only 20 years old, but I almost feel like nausea. Like I feel like things have moved so fast in my lifetime. I'm like, oh, can we take a second and just appreciate how simple this old version of my mind was? And it's just like, nope, we're just gonna keep going on, keep shedding that skin. And but yeah, I'm very excited and grateful for all the work that everyone's doing and has done and will do, because this would be overwhelming to do it all in one big gulp. So it's nice that we're sharing the load.
Amira, did you want to? You said you want to go next. Amira, are you there?
I was drying dishes. No, actually, I just sent you a message that Rob had his hand up the same time I did, I believe.
Rob, did you want to go?
Yeah. I just had a couple questions. Actually, one for Lucy, one for Melissa. Lucy, can you give I'm curious of this group you started. Can you give me the email address? I'm going to explore it because I want to sort of advance my writing career, and that might give me an opportunity if that does fit. And Melissa, you talked earlier about an online dog service. I have a friend who walks dogs, and I thought I'd relay that to her. Can you give that again? What you said about that?
You like Lucy to go first or me? Doesn't matter. Okay. Lucy, I'll let you go first. I'll follow you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hey Rob, thank you for being interested. Yeah, as I said, it's a platform for other artists to bring up their activism art. So whatever, if you've got some writing that you want to contribute, that would be absolutely amazing. I'd be really grateful. So we do blogs, which are, at the moment, they've been mostly like self-care, activist self-care, resilience building technique, support, like solidarity support kind of thing, and also animal care stuff. But if you've got something else in mind that you would like to contribute, yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
Do you have a can you put in the chat an address, an email, or a whatever, a Facebook or anything? I want to do it more like that. Let's just give him things that he can tune into you guys with, so we can keep the meeting flowing, because this is kind of getting off into a whole other dimension of the meeting, and it's totally okay. But that's what we use the chat window for, to put email addresses and YouTube things and all kinds of stuff. You can just put it over there, and then you can get that stuff and make contact with them. Yeah, that's usually, that's how we do it, so we can keep the meeting flowing. But while we're at it, Rob, did you have some kind of natural talent or gift that you wanted to share, since you have the space now to do that? And the ladies, Lucy and Melissa, can put the appropriate information for you in the chat, and you can copy it down.
A special talent I have?
Well, we worked through the shadow part, and you were starting to actually, you kind of started with that, but maybe you could elaborate a bit on how a new form is emerging for you with your work and the space you're in, and how you're having to accommodate a whole new situation to produce your livelihood. It seemed like it was kind of positive and something but more from your heart than from just the fact that you're earning a living with it. Do you follow me?
Maybe.
Well, give it a shot. I'm sure it'll work out.
Okay, well, I just think I just have a ability to come up with ideas. Like, I know this, earlier today I was reading an article of that the Copenhagen Zoo, they call animals and then they dissect them in front of people, and they do it as educational, and they say that they do it because they want to show what reality is, because animals do die, they're not live happy ever after. And just thinking, yeah, but you have to kill them. I mean, they die in nature, yes, but, and then I went walking afterwards and I'm thinking, well, yeah, but animals would still die in nature if we didn't eat them, but I know the amount of animals we kill. And I was thinking, yeah, but maybe it's more so of not so much that we're trying to save all these animals' lives, or I know the animals won't be born, but won't be live miserable lives and be killed, but they will. It might be so much as us rising above what we are to become caring beings, and that is what maybe the ultimate goal is, then, that we would be caring for these animals even though they are suffering in nature. Um, and I don't know if I'm off track with that, but that's what I was thinking.
No, that's cool. I mean, every time somebody jumps in, I think everybody always feels a little awkward and wonders if they're on track. But you touched my heart with what you said, and that's the essence of what this phase of what we're doing is. Is something in what you said was really sweet, and I felt a lot of care and a sense of a kind of commitment to something to make something better. So, I mean, those are just the essential things I'm pulling out of what you said. So yeah, I think you're right on track. I think it's totally right on. So thanks, Rob. Let's see. Amira, are you there now? Did you want to share now?
I'm here, but no, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So anybody else? Christine or Nancy, I think, are the ones left. If either one of you feel free, if you feel something that you want to offer to the space from your heart, especially if it's something that that you might have evolved through in the last week that was really challenging you, but it helped you to get in touch with who you are and your power and a way in your heart. Oh, Nancy. Okay. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, can you hear me? No. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, I didn't have my, I was muted. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. I've been feeding my kitties. Yeah, it's been an interesting time, and I sorry that I jumped in so late. I had another webinar before this, and I had actually fallen asleep, and so I got behind in everything. But I love this kind of focus for vegan advocacy, because it's so important that being vegan isn't just about, oh, look at all the horrors and let's avoid the horrors. And, it's about moving towards our true nature of love and light. And I think that it's so important for especially activists who see these awful things happening, and to not lose touch with who we are, because that love connects with other people's goodness. One of the things I know that a lot of you see sometimes vegan activists, like, they hate people and they get angry and they think, well, it's kind of easy to fall into that trap, actually, because there's so much ignorance, and no matter what you say, sometimes people just keep defending the horrors. But I feel that we co-create a world. Like, if I look at somebody and I think, oh, you're a terrible person because you're eating animals, I'm co-creating you're a terrible person with them. And if I look at them and say, no, you're a being of love and light, and I know that there's someone in there, then we can be a mirror for that, and reflect that back to them, because it's our heart that brings us to this point of going vegan. It's very much a heartfelt thing. Even if someone's, as they say, just vegan for health, there's still enough of a caring that they're willing to change and go against the status quo. So I feel that the more we can unite in love and compassion for everyone. I mean, and I hate to say this, but maybe even President Trump, like, have some compassion for that poor twisted soul. And it's a really profound thing to realize, oh, okay, we co-create the reality with people, and what do you want to see in others? And I'm very appreciative of this group. Thank you.
Wow, Nancy, I'm glad you found this group. You definitely are with the program here. You're welcome anytime. Cool. Definitely words of wisdom coming out of your mouth. And that's what we're looking for. But also, it was also right with the gift frequency that we're sharing right now, because it's all about heart space. And it's all about, if we want, I mention it sometimes I don't, but if everybody feels to extend your heart into everybody's heart and then allow everybody's heart into your heart, that's kind of the intent that we're holding the grace for behind. It's kind of like the background frequency at the gift level. If you want to tune into that, then you can, it's really kind of fun, because then you can really sense, I mean, for me, it makes me feel like I have 8 other nodes of my heart that are all alive and beating just like my heart. And it's kind of I mean, this stuff is real because whatever we intend is real, especially in a group space. It just empowers it even more. And it teaches you a lot about yourself, and it teaches you a lot about others if you can do that. And then there's so much you can learn, even though it's not spoken. It's just conveyed through the essence of all of our shared intent. You know, if we were all in a room right now, all 9 of us in a circle, I would have us, you know, envision, but literally envision it in a way that with our intent, we create a sphere of light. Normally it can be golden, but doesn't matter, but we all project our heart into it. And then from that space, we receive everybody else's heart. We allow that golden sphere to come into our heart. And so we get everybody's heart, plus we share our heart with everybody. So that's kind of the essence of what we do when we go into the gift space. And a lot of times I'll introduce that at the beginning, but this time I wanted to do it almost at the end. And that's more than that. I don't know why you're putting that up there, but I know that that's Metatron's cube. And Metatron's cube is the sacred geometry that creates everything in this existence we're in. Because Metatron is the messenger of the source, and as the messenger of the source, he's responsible for conveying to this universe we live in every possible form of everything, from consciousness to form and everything in between. That's why I love that symbol. And maybe you just threw it up there to see what I would say. Maybe you had your own reason for doing it. I don't know, but that's a perfect. But there may be somebody else, like Christine may want to share a little gift. If she doesn't have to. If she does, she can just unmute and start talking. Otherwise, that was a perfect segue into, unless Amira, because she said, Amira, one more chance to share at this level, unless you don't want to. Otherwise, we're going to move to the Siddha.
I'm good.
Okay, Nancy raised her hand, so maybe she wants to say one more thing before we shift into there. Unless Christine, of course, she can also say something too. But go ahead, Nancy, you're up.
I didn't unraise my hand. I'll have to unraise my hand. Oh, lower hand.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, great. You didn't unraise it. Okay, so Christine, I'll give you another couple of seconds if you have anything you want to share at this point. If not, we'll move on to the Siddha space. And the Siddha space is about the higher self. It's about oh, and now that we're moving into it, a nice way to introduce it is I wanted to to share some insight I had about the work we're doing together. I even made some little notes, but I'm not going to read off the notes. I'll just use it to remind me of what I wanted to talk about. But so when we're doing our shadow work, and this is the way to get into the Siddha too, by the way. So I'm not just doing it just to inform you guys, but it's also the way to upgrade the frequency, because there's going to be a lot of understanding in what I'm going to share. So when we're in the first phase and we're dealing with shadow, the essence of that work is about what I call the heart of transformation, because what we're doing when we open our space up and pour our mind out and all the drama and the trauma and everything that creates all this emotion through our nervous system, because it's when our sensations and our mind meet, then we create emotion. And the only place that can be transformed is in our heart. So I call that the heart of transformation. And what we're dealing with is what I call life codes. So these things I call every week the life codes. But there's 2 other kinds of codes, and I'll get into that in a second. And basically what we're dealing with is the shutting down through conditioning of our self-expression and the reclamation of our personal power. That's the essence of what we're doing when we're working with the shadow and the shutdown part, okay? And we're dealing with life codes, because it's through living life and dealing with life as it is, as vegan activists or vegans or near vegans or whatever you may be in this space. That's what we're coming up against as the essence. There's more to it than that, but that's a great place to start from. As far as I'm concerned, the heart of transformation. So that's the first phase of our work. And then we just went through what I call centering essence, because in order to step out of that and step into your natural talent, you have to come back to your essential self. And it has to be something that you center yourself in. You place yourself directly in the middle of without moving in stillness, is what I mean by centering. And those are the love codes. So we shift from life codes to love codes. And that's discovering one's natural inclinations and intrinsic meaning inborn, innate, imprinted at the time of birth by the planets, however you want to look at it. Intrinsic abilities, I'll start again, discovering one's natural inclinations and intrinsic abilities as the play of the archetypes that together makes up one's unique mythology. So all of the planets, all of the different archetypes that imprint your genes with these love codes, because love is what brings out your natural talents. Where you were loved in your life, or where you loved yourself in your life, are the places where your natural talents are going to come out. And the things you love to do naturally, and the inclinations and the likings, the leanings, the learnings, the longings that you follow without any, you don't even need to be motivated, because you are the motivation for those things. So that's what we're talking about when we're in the middle phase, when we're dealing with our gifts, our genius, that kind of thing. And what we're going to move into, that's really where the term accelerated collective evolution fits and applies. And those are the light codes, light codes. And by light, I mean the primary clear light of objective reality, the intrinsic awareness that lights everything in existence. That place, that's what spirit is. We're a drop of that. That's what spirit is. Attuning to the attributes of the higher self through the emanations, luminous filaments of original being, which emanates from our core, from our hara, from our tantien, however you want to call it, from that place in us, our divine core, where we and the divine intersect. So I just wanted to say that now that we've had, quite, I mean, this is the 16th meeting, so it's been 4 months of meetings now of these condensed types of intentional consciousness raising, open-hearted celebrations, but we also share our trials and travails and everything. But in the end, it's all a celebration. And by that, I mean, we kind of light up whatever it is we've gone through. And we come together as a greater family, a family of I like the way Sailesh puts it, holo ahimsa, not homo anymore, holo, meaning whole, holographically and non-violent, ahimsa, bringing no harm anywhere. Okay, so we're peaceful, luminous creatures, and I think that's such a beautiful way of seeing what we are as humans. And I'll come up with other terms too, but that to me is a very beautiful term to use this evening, to also kind of give thanks to and be grateful for this Vegan World 2026 platform in which we're doing this vegan synergy meditation work. So at this point, officially, I'm going to open space to the higher and ask for help from above, and open the present moment and ask for the, dare I say, the higher intelligence, the higher evolution to be invited into this space right now through all of us. And what I mean by that is that our 9 consciousnesses together, which is an Enneagram, by the way. Enneagrams are really cool. They're how vibrations and frequencies are accelerated and decelerated throughout the universe for all kinds of different purposes. That's an Enneagram. And when we tune into that now, all 9 of us, in connection to the higher evolution, we're opening ourselves to a being that equals in itself all of our consciousnesses together in a creative field. So that's what we're attracting right now. So that's my intent. That's the intent I hold and share with all of you right now. And I also place my entire being in every single one of your beings, not just my heart, my totality. So that we literally, if you could imagine in kind of a science fiction sort of way, that 9 people were standing there in a circle, and all of a sudden they blended together in some kind of magical way and became this magnificent, sacredly designed spirit consciousness that, almost like out of some of those Star Trek ones with Q, the Q dimension, something but a nice Q, not a weird Q, but something of a being that's just of a very advanced intelligence that is very benevolent, is what we're attracting at this moment. Some people call that an angel, but in reality, there are beings. Angels are just the closest type of consciousness to us. There are beings that are more profound than angels, and with 9 people, we're attracting something that's a little bit deeper than that. I wouldn't know exactly the term because I don't really care. I just care that we attract it, and I just have the how of it. Maybe somebody will come in at some point who's really good shamanistic designer type person who and also who really knows how to detail archetypes of a higher luminous quality. Um, so I'm just getting into I guess you could call it the siddha of kind of a higher narrative. I'm starting to draw down this entity by you can attract by describing the experience that you're going through and creating an environment on an intent level with your consciousness that everybody's imagining together. Whatever we're all imagining right now by sharing this story is creating a field in which this kind of higher evolution can be present with us. And so that entity is present with us. And what I want to say, the siddha of my higher self, the archetype, the mythology of higher intelligence that I'm tuning into right now, to open the space. It's always the same. It's the archetype of our higher selves, which is the second, in this case, light code. Second light code, not life code. It is a life code. It includes the life code and the love code. It's unity. So I have to call forth unity in order for all of us to ignite our higher self, so we can attract a higher form of intelligence. And I invite, and even with that playfulness of the higher self, I even dare anybody to step into this space and share something, because it's really cool, and you may surprise yourself, and probably will, because you can't premeditate this. You can't come. We're past the stories now. This is the spontaneous eruption of your own creative intelligence that you're going to put out into the space. And I hope that hit everybody's belly when I said that, because that was the intent, was to open up your belly when I said that, because that's where the emanations, the primordial emanations that connect us to everything, are in our body. And it's real. It's the most real thing. Without that, none of all this that we're doing now would even be present. That was prior to this. So that's where we're going, to a more primordial, more primary space to share our experience together and our perception, almost more like our perception or our seeing. We're sharing our seeing now, is what I'm inviting into the space.
I could go.
Go. Whoever said that?
Me. Hey, everybody, it's me, Sarah. So what I feel like is happening is this shift. And in my perfect world with all of you is that we have Vegan World 2026 because we're the messengers, and we are the messengers, and I envision us all being together in one collective, even close proximity, where we would be living in, because we're going to have perfect harmony, of course. But I have two thoughts. One, we're all going to be living together, of course, with the animals. Everything's going to go back to what it's supposed to. Or I'd like to give the world back to the nature, and then we can be gone from here. Not to sound morbid, but we really need to let the animals have back what's theirs, because we've taken everything from them. So we should give back. In order to do that, like Dr. Rao says, we have to go to a service, compassionate, non-violent world, a compassionate based world. Instead of a normalized violence world, we go to normalized compassion. So we're all going to be together. And like Melissa said, like Lucy said, like everybody said, it doesn't really matter what our gifts are, because they all sync. We all sync together. And I always envision that whenever I go to Vegan 2026, which is only 2 years. But whenever I'm around you, all of you people, I feel that we are collectively going to be the embodiment of the next phase of this world, whatever that's going to happen. Because like, we don't know. None of us know what's going to happen. We do know it's going to be a vegan world for sure. So that's the only, like Dr. Rao says, go vegan or die, countdown to year zero. We're going to be going to the year zero in 2026, give or take a year or two. So this is just the beginning of us collectively, like we say, collective intelligence. All of our collective intelligence and all of our oneness comes together at Vegan 2026, give or take a year or so. I feel like it's going to happen sooner. That's just my personal feeling of everything that's happening now. So I just feel like we're all going to be together somehow, even physically. We'll be able to, like, I can hang out with Amira. That'll be awesome. And just, it's just going to be amazing. I really feel like no matter what happens, even if it's bad for us, it's going to be good again for nature.
Thank you, Sarah. I feel that what you just, that's also a way to tune in to siddhas, is to bring the future into now. And I feel like I was invited into a vision of what we can actually, I mean, I feel we can actually share that frequency right now, and that is one of the best ways to make it materialize and actually happen in our physical world sooner. So I think that was incredibly relevant. And I also see a deep, deep forgiveness in everything you just said, Sarah, because we are made for giving this world to everything in this world. We are the messengers of forgiveness. And that is I think that's our first step. And I think everything you just said is rooted deeply in that. Because I know you're forgiving, because you couldn't do what you do without being able to have, and I mean forgiveness back to the animals. That's what I'm talking about, all of life. I'm not talking about forgiving your grandmother or your mother for whatever they did to you when I'm not talking about that level of forgiveness. I'm talking about a much deeper level of forgiveness. So I feel that was incredibly relevant. And Lucy, I think we're about to go when Sarah stepped in. If you want to go ahead, because I think that was the natural order of things. If you are there. Yes, you are. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear what Sarah was saying as well. Thank you for that. I feel like the bringing in of the future, an aspect of that I have been quite kind of tentative about talking about with people, but it's something I've been thinking about since I kind of got into activism, is how do we as one make this shift together, including the people who actively want to stop working in the slaughterhouses, who have been doing all the awful stuff, but how can we work with them to help heal them, and as one move together, because we can't be excluding those people who want to make those changes. Obviously everything is up to us, and as individuals it's up to us to be doing all the work, including them, so they have to want to make these changes. And what I think what Melissa, what you were saying before about your story about the kids who wanted to make the positive changes in their lives as well, like what's the best way to help everybody make these shifts? Because I have a sense, and I haven't quite started seeing evidence of it yet, but I do get a sense that through this time of this cocoon moment, this hanging in space of kind of nothingness at the moment, I feel like people are gonna kind of spontaneously be going vegan anyway. Like, people are gonna be absorbing the information that's online. They're probably sitting at home doing research on what they can do to make a difference in their lives. I'm sure of it, that there are a lot of people who are doing that. So yeah, what I'm inviting, I guess, from the universe, or what I'm setting intentions for and doing my best to manifest, and I think doing this together is a good way of doing that, is kind of think tanking, brainstorming, how do we help those people make those shifts in the best way possible. I mean, there's Challenge 22, but I don't know if Challenge 22 and those kind of structures are really the best way to do it. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on that. But really, I think collectively as one, moving together, and because we're all at different parts of our journey, we're all, some people are working in slaughterhouses still, and they don't necessarily want to be there. But once they start making those shifts in their lives, whether they're forced out of work because of this whole situation right now anyway, and then they're sitting at home and they're forced to confront their darkness within themselves, their own shadow, and they decide spontaneously that, yeah, I'm going to make these changes. I'm not going to be abusing or using animals at all anymore. I need to be vegan. It's like I want to be inviting divine inspiration for the whole of us as a community to figure that one out, unless it's already out there and I'm just missing a little like puzzle piece. Maybe I'm not aware of it. But
Nope,
I feel
calling it in.
it's super important. Calling it in, yeah. And I do feel like the arts are just, and it's something that has been again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've just been personally focusing on certain aspects and areas of activism more myself anyway, but I feel like it's an area that hasn't really been addressed or utilized to the best of our abilities. So bringing different forms of art into healing spaces to help people change, help people make those changes. And yeah, I just have this vision. I see this. I feel like us as individuals and us as groups who are doing all this light work, basically we're bringing light into the darkness, shining light into those dark spaces through whatever kind of activism we're doing. It's lighting it up. And the more we do that, and the more consciously we do that, knowing that that's what we're doing and knowing that that's, raising our vibrations and raising the vibrations of the planet collectively and moving into this space. It's this convergence of light on that dark black hole that definitely exists. I mean, I don't really know exactly how to frame it, and I don't know how you will frame it, but the darkness, whether that's like biblical evil or whatever, but it's definitely an aspect of our humanity that we need to address. And like as a collective shadow, how do we collectively bring more light into that and just explode it with light?
There's a beautiful mantra that comes from the time of Buddha that was created as a result of one of his bodhisattvas becoming enlightened in his presence, and that bodhisattva was Avalokiteshvara. Some people know him as Kuan Yin, the bodhisattva of compassion. And he and what you're talking about doing reminds me of what his vow was, which he called dredging the depths of hell. We literally have to go into those places where people work in hell. That is hell, what they're doing, and bring the light there. And so to me, that's a beautiful thing. And the mantra that was created upon his enlightenment was the mantra Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. And what that means is gone, gone, gone beyond, gone altogether beyond, all hail the Bodhisattva. And that's a beautiful thing, because you have to be ready to go and then go beyond and go altogether beyond in your desire to bring peace and liberation to all beings everywhere. Because without that, what is good is your own peace and liberation? You're just sitting there alone as an island while everybody's deep, dark, and suffering. Yeah, that's what we're being called to do here in these groups. That's what this caravan is. We are building an invincible love and light and intent and willingness to liberate all beings from suffering, starting with ourselves. And the most powerful way to liberate yourself from suffering is to have the courage to show up at meetings like this, expose your shadows, release your gifts, and then embody your sit-up. I mean, that's the work. That is the work in one sentence. That's what we do. And when we can do that, as several people here are like already behind and doing too, we start to bring light into every dimension of the world through our veganism. Because through the veganism, we're already the peace bringers. We're already the people who walk the path of peace. We're not talking about it, we are it. And that's the only way existence will hear you. You have to be it. Talking about it is cheap, you know? So that's what that reminded me of. And thank you, Lucy, for that. It was very beautiful. Nancy has her hand up, so she's next.
Oh,
I unmuted you. Oh, you just muted yourself. There, I unmuted you again. Go ahead.
okay. I didn't unmute myself. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
Yes?
unmuted you. Yes.
Okay. I'm sitting here just bathing in all of this, beautiful sharing that's going on, and it's funny because it actually makes sense, logically too. But I wanted to say one thing that I feel very strongly about this, like certain that vegan food, if we want people to stop eating animals, and we do, I mean, that's really, only one part of what vegan is. But it's very important that people stop putting that violence into their body, that they stop participating in those things. And the only way I see it actually happening is when vegan food becomes as prevalent as animal products. And right now, it's still not. We've made a massive headways. Plant-based food is the darling of the food industry. It's booming with it, and it's only going to keep going that way. I think plant-based burger sales, fresh ones in supermarkets, went up like 250%, something like that, and just recently. But because when restaurants, one of the things that's really taken a hit is restaurants now, because now we can't dine in and share meals with people, which is a huge major social connection, cultural connection. And right now still, restaurants are way behind the curve with bringing plant-based, really viable, solid plant-based options. And until those plant-based foods are as easy to choose as an animal meal, and then even easier and cheaper, because most people are not going to choose to go against the status quo, even when they know all the horrors and they have all the information. The two primary motivations behind people's food choices are pleasure and social connection. So we have to shift that to eating vegan, the pleasure, the joy, the bountifulness, and it's really up to us to push that, to go to restaurants, to talk to restaurant owners, to host vegan dining events and things like that, to bring people together and in a joyful, positive way. You want to bring them in and then hit them up with all the horrors. They're not going to want to come back. And who wants to talk about that while they're eating? So that's I'm going to cut myself short. I think I conveyed enough of what I'm feeling. But thank you.
Yeah, I like.
And to that end, actually, I guess I've probably followed up with, if you want any ideas or have any ideas to share, I have a business I started called Botanic Cuisine, BOTANICUISINE, Botanic Cuisine, to do that, to that end. So anyway, thank you very much.
Can you put the address in the chat? Just put whatever it is that people can go there online, wherever it is. Yeah.
I'll do that now.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all that. That was what I liked about that was, I mean, in the sense, when I say what I liked, what I mean is how I felt that contributed to the space of the citizen, our higher self. That's what I mean by that. It's not that I personally thought, oh, whatever. It's not that kind of, it's just, when I say I mean the space that's being created here, is that without ever, in other words, you stayed very grounded and in the reality we're in, but I feel like you're bringing something in that could bring a taste of paradise into the world. And that to me is very Siddha-like. And I totally relate to that. Because everything in a siddha space is siddha. So I don't care how it sounds or where it's coming from, because you can even make criticisms in a playful way, without, non-seriously, but very sincerely, about your shadow from the siddha space, if you want to do that. And then you're coming from the siddha of perfection, believe it or not. But thank you, Nancy, for putting that in there. But just to keep, really, when we're all one like this, we're really all one beautiful diamond of consciousness right now. So everything that's happening here is just a facet of myself that I wasn't as aware of before as I am now. So every time somebody shares, it's just another facet of me, and we're all the same me in this space. We're a we me. Or what I'd like to say, and Lucy, you can relate to this because it's also your birth hexagram, the army, but change the spelling to O-U-R, our, M-E, me. And you still say army, but now it means something totally different. Our me. That's what this is. This is our me. So that's cool. And so when I say I, that's what I mean, our me. Just to be clear, okay? And it also is my birth sign in the Chinese hexagrams, the army, but it's our me, not army. Same thing. And so that was just a fun little moment. Those come up when we do siddha stuff too, where we just do fun things like that. And anybody can do that. Yes, Evan, you're up.
Thank you. I like that idea of the army. That's a good way of putting this experience into words. But something that Nancy was saying about this idea of pleasure and how that's one of the big driving forces, I feel like when I became vegan, what opened up for me was this whole new dimension of pleasure that can be experienced from eating, where I not only enjoy how the food tastes, but I enjoy I enjoy just like the knowing of what I'm participating in. I'm participating in something sustainable, something that is like I'm honoring the life that did have to die to create this food. I'm taking part in this cycle in the most nonviolent way. I don't know. Like I felt like, yeah, this whole new dimension opens up into where I really felt like I was a part of this big army of consciousness that extends into the lives of the animals as well. And this idea that I was lacking something kind of just went out the window. And I think that's a big change that people have to go through, is looking at plant-based meals as there's actually more there for you than there is in the meals where someone had to be taken advantage of or killed for you to enjoy it. Because I think through advertising and things like that, we've been taught to look at a plate without meat and dairy as being less than. And so, yeah, there's an interesting learning curve that needs to be achieved culturally to get people to look at a plate full of rice and beans and salsa and plants and look at that as, wow, like, look how much more there is for my heart to indulge in. So I don't know how that's going to be achieved, but I really enjoy being able to play around with these ideas in this space, because sometimes it's easy to feel like when someone's when people are eating meat around me, and I almost feel so far gone. I just don't even know how people still keep doing it almost. And yeah, and I guess pleasure, it's never insanely complicated, I guess. But yeah, anyway, thanks.
What a deep and really, that's illumination. That's the sit of illumination, by the way, what you were working there, that definitely illuminated some things. But the one thing that doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to let that go for right now. I'll get back to it. But thank you, Evan, for illuminating. I can't remember, Melissa, have you shared your higher self, and did you want to yet?
Yeah, thanks, Charmander. I was just waiting, so I wasn't always going first after you. Just changing the, order. Um, so my city comes in the form of 4 words, really just expressing a journey that I've been on. I guess I could call it a revelation that I've had through the shadow and looking at the gift of the shadow and then to the higher representation of that. And the words are distancing. So there's been a slowing down, a pausing, and a distancing. And that I find paradoxically has led us to a place of reverence. So by taking distance, we're actually getting closer to people. So right now we're in this forum here. We're all very close and we're sharing this sacred space together, which may or may not have happened in person. There are lots of things to distract us from when we're person to person in space with each other close up. And so I find that fascinating that by taking distance, we've gotten closer, but through the distancing, we've come to a place of of reverence. And then by getting to reverence, it's transforming us. We're going through a metamorphosis. And the word that I got to, which I was not expecting, is friendship. And I was kind of blown away by that, but I was like, oh yeah. We're being called to distance ourselves, coming to a place of reverence again, going through a transformation to come back into being friends of the earth, friends of all species. And I really love that. So it's like this whole journey that we're on that's going to lead to peace, I guess. Peace, friendship, peace.
I read this post, if I may, online a couple days ago. Let's see if I can get it right. It said something like, it's as if existence is sending us all to our rooms right now to think about what we've done. And I really could relate with that, because sometimes we have to be, I know this spiritually in my spiritual path, that sometimes you have to stop. I mean, just stop and surrender. Just so you can hear it. Just so you can hear it, what's happening. If that makes any sense. But
yeah,
go ahead.
I think that's spot on. Totally. And just speaking from my own personal experience, I was getting frustrated because I kept waiting for the universe to hit the pause button already, and it wasn't being hit. And I've just been waiting for the pause personally. Like I find it so nurturing and healing to be banished to the cocoon, where we, as Evan was saying, we get to cook. I can spend an hour chopping an onion now, which I didn't before because I didn't give myself the pleasure of that time. I was always trying to be somewhere else doing something else. So it's a whole brand new experience. And it gets us back to simplicity, which I think is really beautiful.
I'd also like to add, if I might, during this whole thing, I don't know if you guys remember what I came out saying, but about, this experience today with the horse racing. Sarah just sent me some information telling me that it looks like we made some headway. She released some news. So see how quick that was? It's like I was wondering today, is this going to work online? We're not out there in the fields as much, hands-on, but apparently, it got through. And I didn't speak at the meeting, but Sarah certainly did. She got right up there and just voiced herself for all to hear. And apparently they heard something, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's shut down.
And Amira, if there's anything you want to share from your higher self perspective that you might think anybody in this audience might benefit from, that would, if you feel like it.
I'm not really getting any hits because I'm kind of being in my aloneness a lot right now and just kind of being the witness of myself.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
it's because it's yeah, it's I think it's more for me right now with what's happening with me. So
Hmm.
I'll leave it at that. I'll let y'all know when it comes out. I always do.
Okay, let's see. Rob or Christine, I think, are the two. If either one of you have anything where, okay, Christine, go ahead.
Hi again. I just feel this sense of honor to be with all of you, and such an intense collective consciousness, like almost we're family, and a really a kinship and a friendship, and all of the things that you have all spoken of. You put into words things that I've felt that I have not yet put into words to anyone else or for myself. So yeah, that's just this feeling of honor to be here is mostly what I wanted to share.
That's really cool. Because what I don't know if you're familiar with the Gene Keys or not, but honor is a city. So thank you for sharing your experience of the city. See, it works even if it just works. That's what happens in the city space. Everybody, Rob, it looks like you're coming, you're visible. So I'm guessing you would like to share.
Yeah, it's my first time. I found it. I feel better participating and hearing everybody. It was very insightful, and I like. It's good to relate with other vegans. I always enjoy that. So I found this, and thank you for doing it.
Well, thank you for participating. I hope you come again and again and again, and that's for everybody. Like this one, I can't remember where I. Oh yeah, it's a tarot card, but it's of a very special tarot deck. Very different kind of tarot deck. Only has 60 cards, but one of the cards says, "Come, come, yet again, come." So that's my standing invitation. Period. Come, come, yet again, come. And you can take that any way you want, but it's all good. So, but that's what I say. So I think that's really been a really juicy, alive, and very multi-dimensional meeting tonight. It's been came in from all over the place. And let me see. Let's see, Amira, Melissa. I can't remember. Evan, have you closed the space yet, or was it? I can't remember. Yes, you have. I know Melissa has. I know Amira has. So I'm going to invite the next person I met after. Lucy, would you like to? Have I had you close the space yet? Where you're going to say the final words? I can't remember. Did you do it last time? I don't remember. No?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No.
So I'd like to invite you to say the final words before I stop the recording, and then after I stop the recording, whoever wants to hang out, we can hang out for a little while longer. But if you could just say something to kind of bring it all together and end this meeting, because we're at the end.
All right, 1 second. Let me get. Yeah, I haven't done this before, so I'm not sure exactly. Not sure exactly what to say, apart from kind of coming from my sitter, and I guess the underlying theme, I guess, that I'm hearing from everybody, and what I'm feeling, what I'm getting a sense of is maybe coming to a kind of a place of contentedness with, or making some peace with what's going on. And yeah, it feels like we've really shifted through a whole lot, and quite a maybe bit of confusion and convolution maybe at the beginning, and into our gifts and really sharing those words of expressing who we are and what we are bringing to this whole shift. And it's really amazing seeing how everybody's come to that sitter space and really calling in, co-creating spiritually, energetically, co-creating this really positive, uplifting vibration that we're all working from collectively now. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to close it, but thank you everybody so much for joining. Thank you for allowing me to express myself, and for all the work that you've done over the however long we've been doing this. So thank you.
That's it. I just up for your presence. Tune into you. Just sense how your body's feeling in your space right now. And just notice whatever's going on in the environment around you. If there's any sounds around you, just be aware of it. If your eyes are open, just be aware of what you're taking in visually. And if you're still, or if you're moving, just be aware of what your body's doing also. Just whatever activity or non-activity you're doing, just be aware of that. And if there just happens to be any smells or any tastes that are relevant to your experience, just be aware of that too. And just take a moment and acknowledge whatever struggles you've been through this week. From this released, relaxed space, whatever you've been challenged by, whatever you've been coming up against, whatever's been pushing your buttons. But now from a little bit of distance, just allow yourself to observe and be aware of whatever that is that you've been experiencing this week. And as you do, just kind of release it. Just release that and drop down into your heart. Out of your mind, where all the chatter is, where all the problems are, the problem maker itself, our mind and all its conditioning. And if you drop into your heart for a moment, and you can just be present with your heart. And whatever it is that you love about life, whatever gives you a sense of connectedness with life and makes you want to share who you are with the world, with yourself, with those you're close with, and even with those who you may not be so close with. Just whatever's in your heart, just be in touch with that for a moment. And then I'm just going to invite you to take one more step down into your belly and just be aware of that space of your being that's in touch with all of life that's happening on the planet right now, and all the things that are happening on the planet right now. And just for a moment, just acknowledge and realize that there is a universal life force that's empowering everything, all the life on this planet, unconditionally. Everything that's alive gets some of the juice of the universal life force, including you. So just for a moment, acknowledge those three spaces in yourself: the space of your mind and its chatter, and the space of your heart and what you're here for and what you love to give and how you love to give it. And then in your being, where we're connected with everything through the universal life force. So this week's theme of the Fifth Life Code illuminates the principle of accordance, in the sense of experiencing one's life as a natural flow.